Warface is a free-to-play, high-quality first-person shooter from Crytek, and it's the first time that we're bringing a free-to-play game to the hardcore, high-quality game market, and so it's yeah. So that's it in a nutshell. Well, I don't know. Like, it's difficult to compare. I mean, there have been a lot of really good free-to-play shooters, but like they're all a little bit different, you know. Like, I think what we do really well is it's a very accessible, easy to get into game, and you see that from people that are playing. Like, there's no fussing around with figuring out what the payment options are and how to, you know, like we keep it deliberately simple so that it's, you know, you don't have to go and buy like different parts of the gun or something like that. You just buy a gun, and you can buy it for real money, or you can buy it for in-game. I mean, in the closed beta, obviously, it's just for in-game money. But like, we just want people to feel at home, right? And, you know, people. What's very important is that we don't just cater to the people that are already in the free-to-play gaming space. We also cater towards people that that are playing boxed products, and so we want to show them that, yeah, of course you can go and you can pay $60 and you can get, you know, a game, and then you can pay $60 and then you get the season pass and so forth and so on. And those games are really good, and they have really high quality standards. But we also have really high quality standards. We don't have double standards when it comes to this, right? It's not like we say like, oh, Crysis 3 has to be really good and Warface can just be mediocre. Warface needs to be really good as well. There's just no two ways about it. So what we want to do is we want to show those people like, look, yes, it's free to play, but that doesn't mean that it's bad or worse, right? It's a good experience, and if you don't want to pay, then you don't pay. You're still important to us because you are our community, and we want our community to engage with each other and with us, and that help us to make a better game. And at the same time, you know, players that don't pay, that stick around, are usually the most loyal players that you have, and they have a very important role in getting other people to get into the game and to play as well. So, in terms of performance, our benchmark is our minimum spec, right? We need to make sure that our minimum spec plays well enough, right? I mean, the visuals are important, but, you know, as a multiplayer gamer, you know that they're not the most important thing, right? It's the fluidity of the gameplay that is the most important, so that you don't like, you know, slideshow, that you're not playing a slideshow. So our baseline minimum spec machine is what we use, and we use it very, very strictly. And we say like, okay, you know, your new level might be all the shit, and it might be like the greatest thing we've ever seen. If it chugs on a minimum spec, sorry, but we can't add it into the game. So that does bring some challenges, and so I think that it's one of the most scalable games that Crytek has ever made, and that means that you see some, you know, the game looks different than Crysis 3, for example, right? It doesn't have some of the sort of extremely nifty features that Crysis 3 has, but that's because we want to make sure that it's, you know, that as many people can play it as possible. And I think we still did a very good job of making it look really good if you play it on a high spec. Well, we're not planning to stay in beta for years and years. However, we have to make sure that, I mean, as I'm sure that you've run into some you know, minor annoyances when playing the game, and so we want to make sure that it's as nice and you know, that G-Face and Warface play as well together as possible, and that, you know, we want to get to a point where everybody says, yes, it's ready, let's push it out. And so there are things that are still not tip-top in some of the areas, especially our monetization. You know, we need to have a lot of players play to get data so that we can set up our progression and monetization models in a way that makes sense and that people like. And so that's what we're doing, our closed beta. And so once we have enough data and once we have tested our backend enough, like, I mean, that's another thing, right? You need to get as many people to play at the same time so you can see if that crashes your servers or not. So once we feel like we're confident to go and say, okay, Warface is ready, then we will announce it. But it's a tricky thing, right? If you announce a date right now and we miss it, then you just get bad press, right? Yeah. People go like, "Ah, they missed again," and blah blah. We prefer to not say when exactly it will be, but I promise that it will be released shortly. So you know, you won't have to wait years for it. So updates, right? What's really cool about this kind of game is that it really allows you to play towards the community and to not like to basically, there's two things that are really important, much more so than a lot of games, well, that, at least that I worked on before. One of is community, and the other one is data, right? So you get an enormous amount of data out of people playing the game, right? You see how many, you know, how long every match is by average. You see how many people died on one spot and stuff like that, and that's really helpful to sort of figuring out how you can make the game better. And what's great is that you don't have to go through a long process of patching or whatever. You can just, you know, apply updates on a very regular basis, and then you can tie new content and new features into that as well. So I really like, I think that in terms of updates, we will just have regular content updates that give you new weapons and give you new gear, new suits that you can wear and stuff like that. But at the same time, what excites me a little bit more is that we can continue working on the core experience, right? We can add new features into it that changed, you know, that changed the game in a good way, right? And then we can base ourselves on our community feedback and our data to make sure that what we are changing are things that people want and that make people play more or more often, right? So we haven't really committed to you know, to exactly how regular it will be, but like if you compare it to Russia, we give people something cool every month. So. Well, so the way that GFace works, it's basically the same way that it worked with just installing the game. So you go to GFace, you log in with your account, you say play Warface. If there's a patch that needs to be applied, it applies it right there, and then you go into the game. So there's no like executables that you need to find, or like installing files that you have to go and find on Gamers Hell or whatever. It's all like GFace is the social part of Warface, but at the same time it acts as the launcher and patcher, right? So you automatically, you know, when you press play Warface, it automatically patches, updates you, and then you're good to go. You know, right now we're focused on making Warface the best PC game that exists, and later on will be, you know, it's one of the surprises, right? We'll continue surprising our players with updates that might be within Warface, but they might be outside of Warface as well.